and good morning. Good evening and good morning, wherever you are, my fellow South Sudanese in Australia, in Canada, in Motherland, and all over the world. Uh, it is unfortunate I have to come back live again because nothing really get my attention like politics of South Sudan, like you all know it. We are told many stories. I'm going to take this conversation from John Garang when we were the liberators of this country called South Sudan. I'm going to choose my word very careful of John Garang's statement. Number one, he said, we are fighting for democracy, freedom, and dignity of our people. And as we liberated this country, there will come a group from London, from Nairobi, from far in Khartoum. They'll come and tell us, John Garang, thank you for all that you have done. Let us pick it up from here. And I believe John Garang had a word for those kind of people. He said, who are you to tell me how to organize SPLM after I liberated the country? That was one. John Garang also told us that there will come a group that never saw struggle, liberation struggle, never contribute even 50 cents of their blood to the liberation movement. They'll cut this country into pieces and call it their own individual projects. I believe we have also seen it. John Garang also told us that Dinka and Nuer are not the government, they're societies. And as societies, government should not excuse their mismanagement and misleading responsibility toward the country in the name of two individuals who are having disagreements. But I believe we have also seen the pattern. If it's not Dinka this, it is Nuer that. So where do I come here to this conversation? I came over here to recognize the fake election that is coming up. If you realize, and I realize on social media, there's only two people talking about election. That is Ambassador Ezekiel Lolgarkwat and President Kir Mayardit. There's only two people, two South Sudanese, who are talking about election. Because to them, their legitimacy as a government is coming to an end in December. So why not create another opportunity, confuse our people, confuse Nuer and confuse Dinka, suggesting that, oh, we are going for an election. Number one, elections, based on what I know politically, from where I come from, it is a contested idea. It should be free and fair. It should one side feed all. If you also realize the election is driven by Atanyawak Atany and Abdelbagayi. So who are driving the concept of election. Well, I'm glad the whole entire South Sudan are mentally awakened, are consciously aware of what is going on. So there's no moral justification to call for election when the unity of the country is fragmented. There's no justification for that. The country is divided into ethnic societies. The people who are running campaign right now, from Ezekiel Olgarkwat, Atanyawak Atany, Abdelbagayi, and the president, they cannot even campaign in Upper Nile region. They cannot even campaign in Equatorial region. So what does that tell you? Why is it all of a sudden we have a messiah called Ezekiel Olgarkwat, who's trying to rescue Nuer. Nuer have never been enemies of South Sudan. They are part of South Sudan Liberation Movement. Dinka have never been enemies of. We were here as cousins way before time. In ancient Egypt, all the way to the present Nilotic cultures, we've been here. We've been getting married to each other, daughters. We've been raiding each other cattle. We settle our dispute one way or another as brothers. But the dynamic situation to which this conversation is going, we are told we are going to have a legitimate election. Here's what I know about this election that is being cooked by the people that I just mentioned: Ezekiel Olgarkwat, President Kiir, Abdel Bagai, and Atenyewek Ateny. These are the only. You have not heard Kwal Manyang talking about election. You have not heard Makunelua talking about election. You have not heard Waniga talking about election. You have not heard Mama Nyandenge talking about election. You have not heard Waniga talking about election. So why all of a sudden we have 4 individuals that are ringing the bell? We have election. Number one, what condition do we have in South Sudan for election to begin with? We don't have the condition that accommodate election ideas. All the opposition parties are either arrested and some of them are either killed. So how would you call that an election? I live in the Western countries where we go on what you call primary, where people always choose who they can nominate it. What primary are we going through right now? No, zero. There's no primary. Before general election, there's always a party to nominate their candidate. You cannot fool me to believe that I will wake up tomorrow and I'm told, oh, Salva Kiir is nominated by SPLM. Did he ever campaign? Did he ever deserve the vote of the people? Did he even organize the party called the SPLM? Did he does it? Okay. Let's look at SPLM itself. Let's say someone like Riek Machar, Lemakol, and others wanted to campaign, or Josephine Joseph Lago want to campaign for the same seat. Are they given a chance? Are they given a platform? All I'm told is that the registration must finish by date 20. If the Electoral Commission is from a Dinka tribe, where I come from, then what would give you the illusion that this election is going to be fair? What would give you that understanding? So I believe we are just making jokes of election idea. I don't think whether South Sudan has ever known something called election to begin with. If they want to borrow ideas, they need to come to United Kingdom, United States, or Commonwealth society to see exactly how elections are conducted. So you cannot just walk up and declare yourself elected president. By who? The very people that you're trying to use to vote for you, you're suppressing them. You're stopping them. They don't have food. They don't have clinic. They don't have hospitals. They don't have a school. They don't have roads. So if I'm a citizen of South Sudan, I won't even know how to vote for you because there's nothing you have provided to me. If you claim I have given you independence was not given to you, to us. We, the people of South Sudan, we vote for that independence. So Salva Kiir never gave us the independence. Riek Machar never gave us the independence. Atenyewek Ateny never gave us the independence. Abdel Bagai never gave us the independence. What is his name? Ezekiel Olgarkwat never gave us the independence. The people of South Sudan unanimously decided that enough is enough. They want to have dignity in their own country. I was there myself. I and my brothers, the Lost Boys, we were here in Washington, D.C., knocking at every door in the U.S. Congress, said that our people can be free. So in the word of John Garang, I began to see the pattern. The people who will cut the land and sell it for a bottle of beer, I've seen it. The people who would say, John Garang, thank you for the liberation struggle, let me have it. I've seen those type of people. Nuer is being confused. Nuer is being confused. They are being told that Riek Machar is this. I don't see any viable Nuer leader, to be honest with you, more than Riek Machar. Yes, as much as I hate Riek Machar myself, he's still a man that can stand and speak in the language of unity. I don't see Ezekiel Olgarkwat being that kind of a man. The only thing that I only see Ezekiel Olgarkwat as sub-interest individual who would say anything as long as it benefits himself. I see that kind of human being. I don't see Atenywega Ateny as someone that working for the unity of the Dinka. As long as the river flow into his side of the story, that's who he is. I don't see Abdelbagi Ayi Akol as someone that can unite people. Yes, I can see Salva Kiir Mayardit as a unionist, but none of the leaders who are now ringing the bell about election. Picture this, my people. We are told we have election in December. Election, the only opposition here is Lema Kol Ajawich. And I'm not so sure, even if Lema Kol try, he will not be able to win, because the people who are managing electoral commission are people that are appointed to make sure that at whatever the cost, they must declare Salva Kiir Mayardit as the winner, at whatever the cost. It doesn't matter if he fell or he did not fail. The Electoral Commission, the guy from Electoral Commission, was told deliberately, cook all of this. We'll give you whatever you need. Make sure you declare tomorrow that Salva Kiir Mayardit won. Let's see how Salva Kiir Mayardit can win. In a normal democratic process, by now, if this election was going to be fair and justify to South Sudanese, any opposition who want to contest would have been allowed. Anybody. Any person who want to contest for the presidency of South Sudan should have been allowed an opportunity to run for that office. But not in South Sudan. Not in South Sudan, where I come from. Because, number one, this election is done deliberately for the sake of saying what? Because the legitimacy of transitional government is coming to an end in December. This December coming up. So by December, the whole entire government will be dissolved. There will be no 5 vice presidents, there will be no legislative assembly, there will be no nothing. And there will be no recognition of South Sudan government by international community, because their mandate, obligation, and legitimacy has come to an end. So why not come up with something to make money? Why not come up with something to make money? And to make money, I can see my brother Ezekiel Olgarkwat is running around the Jukeng and Gajak areas suggesting we must vote Salva Kiir Mayardit, and don't forget to also vote for me. Number one, vote is not something you demand from people. It's something you must earn. You must work for it, and you must earn it. Let people decide who they want their leaders to be. You don't enforce leadership to people. As far as I know, as a politician, you don't hold someone's arm and say, vote for me whether you like it or not. That's not democracy. I had lived in the Western world enough to understand how elections work. If there was going to be a genuine election, let's say Riek Machar is not going to be part of the challenging group. Okay, why not just open it up? I don't care if there's a Galwag somewhere in the village who want to contest for the office of the president. Let him come. Let him be free. Let him speak however he chooses. Let him speak however he chooses. But the idea that you can suppress citizen and call it election. Here's what I know from the sources in J1. This is not an election. This is just another attempt to loot the money. Because I heard yesterday that there has been allocation of what? $3.4 billion just to facilitate electoral commissions. They are given directly to the electoral commissions, say that they can facilitate election. We're talking about a country where a man and a woman barely have 50 cents to buy a bread. We're talking about a country where citizen, employees, civic service, soldiers, military, whatever, have gone years and years without salaries. We're talking about a country where diplomatic missions abroad, in United States, United Kingdom, and elsewhere, goes month and month with no salaries. But if you're giving between $3.6 million just to facilitate election of what? Election of what? I guess to earn legitimacy by Salva Kiir Mayardit and his mafia group, this is how we are now. This is another confusion that is going on. All I can remember is what John Garang have said clearly. We will liberate this country with our blood, with our sweat, and then there will come a group of people who would sit on the table and tell you, thank you for your liberation movement. Thank you for your ideas of independence. Now it is my government. So I keep hearing from my friend, Ezekiel Olgarkwat, let us protect this government at whatever the cost. This is our government. The last time I remember, if I can remind Ezekiel Olgarkwat, people are the government, not the other way. People are the government. Not individual with the name Ezekiel Lodgarkwat or Salva Kiir Mayardit is the government. Country belong to the people. In any constitution of the world, it doesn't say President Kiir is the government and I am nobody. It say we the people have endowed right to be citizen of this country. We make this country. Without the people of South Sudan, there will be no map called South Sudan. So I heard from my best friend Ezekiel Olgarkwat defining government as a government of very few people who are organized, trusting themselves, and the agenda is to loot from the poor to enrich themselves. When he was caught, then he changed the language. He said, no, by the way, that's not how I say it. I get it. And that's exactly what is happening in South Sudan. The very few people who are leading the country, who are benefiting from the country, they made it very impossible for the return of the diaspora with ideas. They think that they own the privilege to lead us at whatever the cost. It doesn't matter. I wrote in my wall today that in 2017, I had a conversation with one of the aides of South Sudan government, telling me that it is our chance, it is our time to eat. We don't care if this country develops or it doesn't develop. The only thing that we will do is we will create crisis and prolong crisis and make sure our children have the opportunity to benefit from our leadership era. And then whatever happened after 40 years, we don't care about it. That's one of the 8 who told me that. Now, that's exactly the pattern. The reason they cannot allow people like me and people like others here in the diaspora to return back, because we have ideas that can help in rebuilding the country. We have ideas of democratization's concept. We have ideas to create unity among our people. The land is so big, it's so fertile. We have so much abundance. But yet, we are the poorest country on the face of the earth. We are the country that cannot even feed themselves. We have the land. We still import food from Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, when we have the land to be able to cultivate the same food. With the word of Kwalmanyang, Duke, I agree with him when he said, I feel shame. I feel shame of myself. If I were to ask the Arab, if any Arab would ask me, Kwalmanyang, why did you fight us? I would say, we fought for dignity and prosperity of our people. But if the same Arab asks me, that's the word of Kwalmanyang, if the same Arab asks me, since you become independent, what have you done to yourself? And Kwalmanyang went on to say, I'm ashamed to tell that Arab I have done nothing to show up for. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the country we live in. So the whole truth is that the election is shamble. It's not a genuine election. It is just a pretext for another opportunity to loot the country. It is just a pretext to provide a narrative to the world that, hey, I'm legitimately elected. Here's what I know about this election that everybody's talking about. Ezekiel Lolgarkwath has made his calculation that in Barkazal, Salva Kiir Mayardit will win by 90%. In Equatoria, he will win by 80%. In Upper Nile, he will win by 70%. Now, let's look at all this region that he's talking about. I bet it's so easy for you to put a pen and say, you can do this. And okay, we're talking about human beings. I challenged President Kiir a couple of days ago when he went to Akon on a private visit. I said, if you're a president of South Sudan and you have the right to go to your home state, why don't you travel across the 10 states plus 2 administrative areas and Abyei? Why don't you go? What is preventing you? Come out of Awil, go to Rumbek. Come out of Rumbek, go to Awainrial, which is Ramchel. Come out of Ramchel, go to Bor or Jangulei. Come out of Jangulei, go to Ayut, go to Akobo, go to Malakan. Go and meet the people, the real people, not the people that employed, not the small circle group, the real people. Go and meet them. Hear what they have to say. Hear what they have to say. So the whole point is that this election it's not an election. It is just an election to extend looting, pretty much, because if $10 million is given to electoral commissions, to do what? You cannot run an election without being forced. I have never seen any election in this world where you suppress the voices of opposition and you still claim, I'm running for a democratic election. I had lived in the West long enough to understand that in order for you to succeed, you have to earn the respect of your people. So I suggest to Kiir Mayar that if you want to be elected by the people, You need to convince to them. You need to walk around all these 10 states, 2 administrative areas, and Abyei. Explain, how did you fail? Because allowed yourself to be criticized by the people. Allowed yourself to be questioned. You want to be their leader? Get out there. Allowed yourself to be asked why there are no roads. Answer that. Why there are no hospitals. Answer that. Why children's South Sudanese youth are dying in Libya. Answer that. Why do we have refugees in internal displaced in the capital, Juba? Answer that. Until you have to show leadership, you cannot stand tall as a man, Salva Kiir Mayardit, and claim to be a leader of a free South Sudan. All I know is that the election is another project. Ezekiel Olgarkwat knows very well. Abdelbagi Akolayi knows very well. Atany Atany knows very well. This election is not going to work. Like John Garang said, Dinka and Nuer are not the government. It should not give a government an excuse to mismanage the country in the name of 2 tribe community. Dinka and Nuer has been here from dawn of time, from history, and they will still be here thereafter. If you're a leader, you cannot just be pinched. You have to have a thick skin to understand that leadership is not for the weak. It's for the strong, mindset individual. It's for academicians, people with political thinking outside the box. It's not for people who are only use their own personal grievances against civilians. I can guarantee you, if this Salva Kiir Mayardit guy is the president of the United States, he will commit a suicide overnight. Because the thing we Americans talk about Donald Trump, beyond belief. But you could see in democracy, freedom of speech, you cannot be arrested for. But in South Sudan, it's a treason. You will be perceived as a traitor. You will be put in jail for absolutely no reason. But in the West, I can stand in Times Square in New York. I can shout as much as I want. As long as I'm not carrying a gun to shoot somebody, I can shout. I can explain myself, but not in South Sudan. So what you, my audience, will take out of this is that there's no election. The election that you are hearing from Atany Atany, Abdelbagi, what is his name, Ezekiel Olgarkwat, and the president, until you hear it from all the vice president, you have not heard it from Mamanyaningdit, you have not heard it from Taban Dengai, you have not heard it from Wanigat, you have not heard it from Kwalmanyang. It is only Atany Atany, Ezekiel Olgarkwat, Abdelbagi, and the president. Part of it is because there's no any viable opportunity for election. The country is still at war with itself. We still have economic calamities that were man-made catastrophe. We still have oppositions who have been rounded up for no reason, arrested. And the justification is, if we can allow this guy, Riek Machar, to come out, if we can allow Akoloko to come out, they will steal election from us. Let's keep them in jail until we win election, and then we release them at the end of the story. Something funny I've never heard. I have never seen anywhere else. I only see this in Uganda. When the main challenger to President Museveni was rounded up in the middle of night, put under house arrest or put in jail, Kizza Besigye. And when Bobby Wine tried to run, His people were either killed or suppressed or put in jail. And then Kabuya, we have a new president. That's the mechanism that I'm looking at. If we choose to be a democratic state, then we should not suppress the voice of opposition. We should allow opposition to express themselves. I'm told by Inside J1 that the challenger to President Kiir right now is Lema Kol and Josephine Lago. That's what I'm told. Okay. And I don't know, where does Ezekiel Olgarkot fit into all of this? I don't know where Abdelbagi Ayi fit into all of this. I don't know how Atany fit into all of this. Well, if that's true, if Josephine Lago is running against the president, then why not allow her to be free? Let her talk to anybody she want to talk to, but not in South Sudan. If Lema Kol Ajawin is free to oppose the president, let him talk to any South Sudanese that he can convince. Let him explain himself why he would want South Sudanese to vote for him. But not in South Sudan, I know. Like I told you earlier, in 2017, I was in Washington, D.C., and I had a conversation by some aides of the president suggesting that this is our time to eat and would not allow anybody to steal this from us. And like I suggested earlier, one of the aides asked me, Bola Okuma, tell me one African country after independence, when did they achieve their democratization concept? So why not allow 20 years or 40 years to go first? And then let's talk about this election or democracy, whatever. I was a civil servant, so I didn't have any opinion to contribute to the conversation. And the justification was, if we allowed the educated society from the West to come back home, our children are not well educated like this diaspora educated society. They'll come and steal all the job. Our children will no longer be seen viable. And two, the children, I'm not so sure how many of the children have ever gone to school. I can begin with children of President Kiir Mayardit himself. I don't know what universities they went into. And some other children of other generals, I know. Or vice president, I know. So those of us who work so hard are now being alienated for a project that we ourselves sacrificed so much to deliver. Many of you on board over here, to whom I know some of them are my colleagues, knows very well how much we put to this country. In Washington, D.C., we lobbied the Congress, we went to churches, we knocked every single door. Referendum, independent. Little did we know today we'll be called treasonous, enemies of the state, to a country we ourselves busted our behind to help liberate politically. So, I don't know about you, but to me, I've already made a decision not to believe that there's going to be an election. If there's an election, it would be because the mandate of their presidential power, the transition, has come to an end. And so those of Atanyawak, Ezekiel Olgarkot, President Kiir Mayardit, Abdelbagi, everybody's panicking. Once the world declared that there's no government in South Sudan in December, they want to showcase the idea that, yep, we're still the government, we just ran an election. The way this election is going to happen, based on what I'm told, is that Someone like Ezekiel Olgarkwat will go to the Jokeng area and bring a bunch of bags, get at least 10 people or 20 people, line them up, take a nice picture, and declare himself as the winner of that region without even contesting with any local within the region. President Kiir will go to Werap and make a huge scene with his people, take a picture, and say, you see, South Sudanese have unanimously voted for me. He would not come to Equatoria, I know that. He would not come to Upper Nile region, I know that. He would not come to Jonglei areas, I know that. He would not come to Rumbek and declare himself as a president. He would not do that. But these are issues we are dealing with, my families. So $10 million are now being spent in the pretext of we are running election. Ya Jama. Ya Jama. Are we telling each other the truth, or are we just making foolish of ourselves? The whole point is that until South Sudanese has to come completely together and decide their destiny, the destiny of the future of South Sudan will not be decided by the sitting leaders. In a normal democratic society, we say, thank you, President Kiir, for all that you have done, for all of your contribution, from referendum, after the death of John Garang, you hold the country together. You kept us hopeful. You kept us purpose to be independent South Sudan. That legacy would never be taken away from Salva Kiir Mayardit. But the idea of the aides of Salva Kiir Mayardit, including some people that are watching me, that democracy cannot be achieved. We have to have at least 40 years. Let these people enjoy their life. At the expense of what? At the expense of children suffering, at the expense of women not having hospital, at the expense of road not being built, at the expense of us, international communities, being laughed at globally. Right now, South Sudan cannot do any business with anybody because we don't have any collateral to provide to the international community. We cannot borrow money from anybody. We have oversold our oil. Hell, the oil that is flowing every single day, it's not flowing into your pocket. It is flowing into individual pocket in Juba. You have heard from Amir, the member of the parliament, who suggested that there is so-called the government leaves and civil servants, nobody care about them. What country are we living in? Just like John Garang said, Nuer and Dinka are not the country. They are citizens of South Sudan. If they have dispute, they can take it to the court of the society and let the society judge it for themselves. But the idea that you could hold the whole entire country hostage based on the claim that your opposition is another tribe, I've never heard of that. I live here in America long enough to not to know what tribe America is. All I know is just state by state. Every state has their own governors, their own legislative assemblies, their own principal laws. That's what I know. I don't see tribe here in America. I don't see tribe in Canada. I don't see tribe in Great Britain. So why all of a sudden, if I'm from Dinka, I have a problem with Nuer or I have a problem with Murle? Those are law enforcement issues. Those are state issues to deal with. We're supposed to be a federal umbrella governing the country called South Sudan, not ethnicity. We're not supposed to be tribal government. We're supposed to be federal government. If we have issues in Pibor. The federal government demand explanation to what is going on in Pibor. If we have issues in Jonglei, the federal government demand explanation to what is going on in Jonglei. If we have issues in Warap, the federal government demand. But that's not how we rule ourselves in South Sudan. We rule ourselves based on the pretext. My tribe this, my clan that. So, to those of you who are coming late, you will catch up with my video later in your free time. I'm not going to repeat myself on what I was talking about. All I said, the election is not an election. This election is only done to validate the fact that, no, to legitimize the government claim that they're no longer a transition government anymore. Even if Salva Kiir Mayardit is elected by his wife and his children, he will still declare that I had won 99% vote across South Sudan. I challenged President Kiir a couple of days ago, if you can go to Warap, you can go anywhere in South Sudan. There should be no reason. You can only choose what side of South Sudan you feel more important and alienate the rest of South Sudan. Warap is not only South Sudan, it's part of South Sudan. Awil is not the whole entire country. It's part of South Sudan. So why not move, go to Awil, get from Awil, go to Warap, come to Rumbek, get from Rumbek, go to Jonglei, go to Lonuer, go to Bentiu, Unity State, go to Pariang, go to Akobo, go to the land of the kingdom of Pashoda, the Cholok kingdom. Go there. You're the president. But no, that's not Salva Kiir, I know. So until Salva Kiir see all of us as South Sudanese, and not only see people of Warap as only special South Sudanese, then this conversation is far from over. I rebel salute all of you, my people. Let's keep this conversation going. Let's keep it positive. Let's not insult each other. Let's not call each other names. But yes, the president deserves to be challenged, deserves to be criticized. But personal insultation is not in my vocabulary. I don't insult people. I only speak facts about policies and politics. But insulting individual, absolutely not. Because nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect, so I don't expect to pretend that I'm more perfect than somebody else.